All right. Well, I'd like to say hi to you all and thank you to the Chamber for allowing me to do this presentation today. My name is Renee Bose, and I am the founder of Studio R Interiors, which is a full-service interior design firm serving both commercial and residential clients for the past 25 years, and also the founder of the Neurodiversity Community Center here in Lafayette. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about alignment for neurodiverse professionals and designing spaces and personal expression that support calm, focus, and authenticity. Include the slides from this presentation, and this gives you sort of a quick overview of what we're going to talk about, but I think I'll get right to it. You may wonder why I am here speaking with you about these things. Well, first of all, it has been a special sort of focus of mine, special interest of mine since the time I was quite young. I've been an observer of how people express themselves and also create spaces to create certain feelings or impacts on themselves and others. I'm very interested in the nervous system and how it responds to spaces. And part of this interest is that I identify as an autistic woman, demand avoidant, ADHD, and highly sensitive. So I have spent a long lifetime thus far trying to figure out why I feel the way I feel and how to affect it in a positive way. And so with that said, I think I'll just get right to this presentation. I'll start with talking about why our environment and our personal expression impact us. Oftentimes we are so busy trying to do all of the things that are required of us. And I'm here talking to professionals. That means, we all have some expectation in terms of a career that requires us to put forth some product. Either it's our own intellectual property or something that we make or exchange in the world. And with all of this obligation, sometimes it's very difficult to put in any energy towards being aware of how responding to our environment, whether it be our built environment around us or things that we put on ourselves in our environment, the toll that they take on our energy. And not only the toll, which of those responses is really bringing energy to us or draining energy from us. I believe, and I have seen over my experience of lots and lots of years, that if we are intentional about creating a space that supports us, that we can have a very positive effect on our well-being. So oftentimes people think you have to do these big drastic changes to have any impact. And I would say in my experience that even small changes, which we'll talk about today, have a measurable impact on us. They can bring more focus, more calm, and more confidence and more energy to us in our daily life. So the takeaway from sort of this beginning conversation is that our environment affects our nervous system in positive or negative ways, and that affects our focus and well-being. So now we'll talk a little bit more about how to create spaces that support us or to identify things in our space that stress us. We're looking at an image here of showing same space, two sort of different scenarios. I think that whether we're acutely visual or not, the elements in our space have an energy about them, and they take some of our focus from our senses. And so when we're really aware of what is happening in our built space, our physical space, then we can start to make some changes to that space that are beneficial for us. So I always like to say, start with the lighting, because that's something that's fairly easy to have an impact on. Address whether the lighting in your space is, number one, adequate for you to perform the work that you're doing. Or, if we're thinking about you at home, is it contributing to a sense of relaxation? Or is it contributing to feeling agitated or overstimulated? What are the colors, the textures? Really tuning into our senses in our environment that affect our ability to focus and affect our levels of physical dysregulation, or something we like to call as stress. So often, There are these generalized sort of terms that we use. Is a space cluttered or uncluttered? Is it calm or not calm? I think that each of us as an individual has a different relationship to space. But being aware of what is in our space and how it's affecting us is really important. I am not a minimalist. I love a lot of visual input. I have a busy mind, and for me to focus, often I need various inputs to sort of bounce around. So I would never have a space that looked like the typical minimalist space. But what I'm very aware of is that I can be very dysregulated by things in my space that are not pleasing to me. So something that I don't find beautiful, aesthetically interesting, balance in a space is very important to me because I'm always sort of measuring things against something else. So I'm very well aware of the elements in my environment that either add to my joyful experience of life or detract from it. And I'm constantly making new evaluations because, like all of us, we're changing all the time. And when my nervous system is more regulated, then I can tolerate more elements in my space that aren't necessarily my favorite things. And when it's dysregulated, I tolerate less. So I'm constantly adjusting. I think that thoughtful design has the ability to create calm and clarity. And so we're going to move forward talking a little bit more about what that is. Before we move on to drilling down some of those details, I want us to take into consideration how what we wear and how we express ourselves matters. So our physical environment is one way that we can express ourselves. So that's what interior design is all about. So creating a functional space, a space that is aesthetically pleasing, a space that has some personality. Well, that is the physical built environment. But as a professional, we're also interfacing in the world as an individual. How do we as an individual create alignment between who we really are, our most authentic nature, and how we're expressing that or showing that to the outside world? One thing that I like to really spend some time thinking about is how do I align my authentic identity so that I don't feel like I need to mask these aspects of myself with the presentation I make of myself in the world. And I find that the more I can do that, the less I'm inclined to mask, and I have less and less emotional fatigue, no matter who I'm interacting with or where I'm interacting. Being a very sensory sensitive person, comfort is really important to me, whether it be in my built environment or my physical environment. So I've spent a lot of time evaluating when do I feel the most comfortable? What do I put on my body that gives me lots of comfort? And what do I put on my body that makes me feel dysregulated or have a lack of comfort? And then how do I choose elements that give me comfort or clothing that brings me comfort, but also expresses my individuality and creates this sort of visual impression of who I am? And I find when I can do this well, that I have this elevated feeling of confidence in the world. And these small changes sometimes create a huge burst in my ability to access my energy and my feelings of confidence and sort of my clarity about what I'm going about and doing in the world. So coming back big picture here, how does our environment and our personal expression work together? Well, I think that it comes down to how do we best support ourselves? And a supportive space and authentic expression has tremendous benefits in terms of how we feel every day. We can do things that create a greater sense of calm, allow us to focus on the work that we're meant to be doing in the world, and doing that from a place of confidence. And then we also have sustained energy and a greater feeling of this like vital essence which animates each of us throughout the day. I want to give you some practical ways that you can apply these thoughts to your built environment and help to create a space that supports you. I'm going to go back to lighting because I think lighting has a huge impact on the nervous system. So I always like to look at lighting and I like to think, is it natural or does it feel quite harsh? Can I adjust it depending on what I'm doing, whatever task I'm doing, the mood that I am, where I'm coming from a nervous system standpoint? Can I adjust it based upon my needs? And usually that is fairly easily accomplished. Is the lighting color temperature too cool or too warm for me? We all have our individual sort of interface with these things, but putting some awareness around it is really beneficial. The other thing that I like to think about is creating sensory touch points in my day. So this could be something really obvious, like a white weighted blanket, or it could be something like a shawl or a light blanket that I use that has like a wonderful texture. Sometimes a wonderful texture for me is something scratchy. Sometimes it's something really fluffy and soft. It depends. So having options. I'm a big texture person. I think many of us are. We need some input. So having different things that we can touch. It might even be the clothing that we wear, the jewelry that we adorn ourselves with, the furniture that we're sitting upon, these accessories that we put on ourselves or in our environment, and utilizing these aspects of our space and what we wear as sort of a fidget tool when we can't, have our basket close at hand. I like to place special focus to furnishings. So how does the furniture piece that you're interfacing with most in your life suit you? Is it comfortable? Is it too hard, too soft, too tall, too short? I'm sitting on a chair right now that without the cushion that I'm sitting on top of would be too hard. But I love the chair because it's small and flexible and I can move it around my space. And quite frankly, I don't want to buy another one right now. So I'm taking something that I have and using something that I have to create more comfort for myself. And then if and when I find this perfect chair that suits me really well, then I'll know enough about what I need that I'll go ahead and grab that one up and then, transition this one on. But what can we do with what we have to help ourselves feel more comfortable, whatever that means, and create more function with what we have? So I have a small space and I need to move things around a lot within my day and make my space multifunction. How do the elements in my space contribute to my ability to do that? I think something that's fairly underrated, that's probably as important or more important than the rest of this, is what do we have in our environment or upon us that is really beautiful aesthetically, like that brings joy when we look at it or someone else looks at it? What is something really special that we take in as we're scanning through our environment? This can be lots of different things. It could be something big or it could be lots of little things. And it's something that I believe should change over time. So you really are the curator of your environment and you're sort of a curator of how you present yourself. So putting some focus on what brings you lots of joy and happiness and inspiration, energy, in those aspects is really important. And then nature is an amazing creator. If you look at anything in nature, it's generally so nuanced and so beautiful and so perfect in its proportion. So I like to remind myself of this potential for perfection by having some natural elements in my space that can take the shape of a plant. It can take the shape of a piece of driftwood that you've collected, a rock that you've found, anything that represents the natural world, not something that we've created, that we've built or acquired, but something that exists. That's part of the earth, and reminding ourselves that we are connected in that way to this earth that is holding us here. Back to aligning our clothing and our personal style with authenticity. Again, just reminding you, being comfortable is very important, and that can take on lots of different meanings. There are many ways that we feel comfort in our clothing, paying attention to sensory specific elements. And also comfort can come from really feeling like you're presenting the very best aspects of yourself outwardly, right? In a aesthetic way. I like to think about colors that really energize me or calm me, and I waffle back between the two because I'm a nuanced individual. Today I needed some energy to do this. I've had a sinus infection for a while, so I wore my orange and reminded myself that life is beautiful, and that's what I'm here to talk to you about for as long as I can croak out some words. You know, we can use how we present ourselves in terms of our clothing to communicate. And I have found that over time, making small adjustments help me reduce this desire to mask my most authentic self. And by default, I'm more confident as I'm moving through the world and interacting with people. And the other benefit is someone can look at me and get a sense of who I really am, like who I really am, not this conditioned sort of model of Renee that I'm putting forth. I'm putting forth this authentic version of myself, and I want others to know that even before we have the chance to interact verbally. Okay, it's a lot of talk. Now let's talk about some things that we can easily do even today if you're not too exhausted after watching this. One of the things that you could do is you could identify one thing in your physical environment that drains your energy. This takes just a moment to sit still and, or maybe not so still if you're someone like me, but just to be present in your physical space and just feel into your body the best that you can and look around and see what things give you some pleasure and which things drain. Now, I said drain here, but I like to end on a positive note. So maybe I'd scan my environment for things that feel draining. And then I'd take another pass and scan my environment for things that feel like they fulfill or build me up or give me some energy. And I'd take a quick note of those things and the characteristics of them, you know, so that I could maybe bring more of that into my environment or less of that if it's a drain. And then you could identify one small adjustment that you could make to your space or, you know, to what you wear or are wearing that could improve your ability to focus or bring you a better sense of calm from a nervous system standpoint. So you feel a little more centered in your being without anything pulling your attention one way or another. And that, you know, relates to both the physical environment and also your clothing or personal style. And in the physical environment and your personal style, what can you do to bring an aspect of authenticity to your physical space, to the way you present yourself to the world? What can you do that would be one small change that could make that presentation more authentic, something that communicates something really unique about you? So someone can just pick up on it when they enter your workspace or your home, or they take a glance at you from across the way. This is kind of a fun one to consider because it requires you really taking some time to think into who you are, like the authentic nature of yourself. Who are you underneath all these layers of conditioning and time and, you know, others' expectations? Who are you authentically? What makes you special to you? You know, that's what that's about, sharing what's special about yourself with others, because it's so special to you that you can't help but want others to know you. So, quick and easy reminder here, our environment and our personal expression are very powerful tools. And we start where we are. We use what we have and we do what we can. Now, if that seems overwhelming and you'd like some more support, I've designed 2 opportunities for you to work with me individually and have a little bit more support. Of course, I do the big design projects. I'm still offering things to the NCC as I can, but these are 2 ways that you could work with me individually around the topics that we've talked about today. The first is a style and space consultation where we look at your physical environment, whether that be in your workplace or in your home office, whatever you choose. You can pick a spot and I can help you do what we talked about, feel into the space, help you understand how it's supporting you or draining you and what changes we can make, often with just the things that you have to help you feel better and support you better. And so that's something that I love to do. I'm really good at it. I have a good feel for it, and it's a personal passion of mine. And I would love to help you in that way. I know it can be overwhelming for some people, but we all have our special gifts. And this is one of the things that I love to do and can do and would love to help you. The other offering is a personal style reflection consultation where we talk about who are you authentically? What image, what aspect of that do you want to have others know when they catch a glimpse of you? How do you want to present yourself in your most authentic way so that you can move through this world in your fullest sense of self and confidence? This is awesome for people that are really going through this process of unmasking and identifying with their truest self. And really, oftentimes as we go through that process, we think about our challenges, and we have a lot of things come to the surface that are difficult to interface with. But I'm offering this as an opportunity to look at the flip side, the positive side of that. Like, who are we at our truest nature? What is the thing that we love about ourselves? And sometimes it's hard to figure that out. So you need someone else to see it. And I love seeing these aspects in other people and helping them bring those things to light, whether it be in their personal space or on their physical person, So I would love to help you with that. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can reach out to me at Renee at Studio R Interiors with an S design.com or Renee at neurodiversitycc.com. I'd love to connect with you. Thank you for your time today. And then don't forget about your assignments if you still have some energy to do them. If not today, maybe take a fresh pass at it tomorrow. And if you want to send me a note about how it went for you, I'd love to hear.